Good afternoon everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Q&A Instagram live session. This week we're joined by Marcin from Noga Photography Studio, and we look forward to putting your questions to Marcin. Marcin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. If you could start by telling us a little bit about Noga Photography Studio and also a bit about yourself.
My name is Marcin Noga. I'm a professional architecture interior photographer. I'm the owner of Noga Photo Studio, a company which I set up in 2010. We provide our clients commercial interior and property photography, as well as floor planning services, and at the moment we work with over 150 estate agents and
wow.
Yes, many award-winning interior designers and architects. Our photos were published in many books and magazines like Vogue, House Beautiful, and they were displayed in many places in London, like Hackney Museum, Twickenham Film Studios. I even ran advertising campaign for Twickenham Film Studios, and the photos were displayed at the festival in Cannes 1 year. So this was a very exciting project. And yes, privately I'm also a portrait photographer. I run a portrait photography studio in Hackney, but it's not open for commercial clients.
Okay.
It's just a place, it's my den, a place when I relax and do more artistic projects.
You mentioned how popular you are, and I think specifically you're very popular within the Northwest London property market.
Yes.
What makes Noga Photo Studio perhaps the better, or how do you differ yourself from the competition, I should say?
Quality of photos. That's the only thing. You know, it's very difficult to find photographers who have very narrow specialization and are good at it.
Yeah.
And you know, you're probably bombarded with thousands of images every day, and we have a tough life now with iPhones having such a great quality images as professionals. We just can't afford to mess up. We know how to market property successfully, and we always turning up on time. We have like very good communication skills. We taking care. We're friendly. And you know, my business isn't big. It's relatively small in spite of having a lot of clients, and there is reason for that. I want to control it and make sure that our clients get the highest quality images possible, and that is why I think you and other estate agents are using us.
Brilliant. You must have photographed some incredible and beautiful houses or flats in your time. Can you describe your favourite?
Oh, there was a lot of them. I think that the best one I photographed was a chateau surrounded by a complex of cottages somewhere in Montpellier in South France.
Ooh.
Yeah,
How did that come up?
One client called me, and I don't even know where it was because I was taken there in a private jet from London. Wow. It was full of flowers. I think that they bought like over 100 boxes of flowers to decorate the property for the photo shoot, and the owner, whose name I can't mention, he bought the place for 60 million euros, and he probably doubled or tripled its value by building like swimming pools in the garden, 2 helicopter landings,
wow.
His own petrol station, so the guests don't have to worry about looking for a petrol station anywhere else. He even put 2 fire engines because it was such a remote location that he just wanted to make sure that his staff can react in case of emergency before the fire services. And yeah, when I finished the job, we had a supper together, and he told me that Pablo Picasso lived in one of the houses for over half a year, and yeah, in spite of being paid really well, it was a big job. As a form of thank you, he invited me for a meeting with the Queen, and never happened because the Queen caught cold a few days before it was planned. But I ended up with lots of photos of Prince Charles, which was very exciting for me. But yeah,
that's an experience.
But yeah, I also photographed many amazing properties in London, and I'm always fascinated especially modern architecture.
I think I know the answer now, but what made you get into property? What do you love about property? What made you get into it?
Oh, I'm from a small Polish town, beautiful town, surrounded by 6 lakes, and I was lucky enough to have an amazing teacher there who opened my eyes to the world of art and photography, and it would alter the way I see things, the path of my life in a way I couldn't even imagine. When I was 15, I had my first solo portrait exhibition, and then I got my MA in art history and architecture conservation. I was always interested in architecture, urban developments, and I photographed Polish castles for a while, and then I came to London. Finding a job as a property photographer with my experience was very easy, I have to say, but after like 2 or 3 years working for a company, I just realized that I can do it much better on my own, and here I am.
Good. So as a property photographer and floor planner, are you governed by a body, regulation-wise?
No, as marketing specialists, we don't have to belong to any professional organizations, but obviously estate agents and all people involved in selling and buying of properties have to meet minimum professional and ethical standards, and that is the reason why we have to follow certain rules and work in accordance with Property Description Act and guidelines created by Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, just to make sure that, for example, the floor plans we produce have like the same size as floor plans produced by our competitors, by different agents. So these rules were created for a reason, and yes, we do have to follow them because it's a very responsible process to advertise a property in the right way.
Absolutely. Have you seen any impact on order levels since the referendum?
Oh yes, yes. I mean, the referendum really affected property market. So at the moment, it's still, we're lucky enough to have customers from different shelves. We work with many architects and interior designers, so that's great. We have work, but I know a lot of photographers who are struggling at the moment, and also agencies closing down. I would say that since the referendum, the volume of our orders in property sector dropped down like 60-70%. It's very terrifying.
And at the moment, is it more lettings based or sales based properties you're going into?
I mean, we always photograph more properties for sale, but at the moment not too many properties sale. So people who don't have to move, they don't move. And so the lettings market is doing relatively well. I'm not an expert, but in my personal opinion, I think that the high-end properties, they weren't affected as much as the average houses in London. And yes, we have to do our job even better now to make sure that estate agents are not blaming us for not selling properties.
We've had a few questions in relation to how long it takes for you to do a property or to photograph and floor plan a property. So for example, if we start with a 2-bedroom flat, how long would that take and what does it entail?
I mean, taking photographs and measuring properties doesn't take so long. It's for a 2-bedroom flat on average is 1.5 hours, I would say, if it's prepared well. But the whole process obviously takes much longer because we have to get to the property, which is usually 1 hour, and then when our photographers come back to the office, they have to spend another hour on selecting images, scanning floor plan sketches, which are sent to our processing team and cut operators. And it takes a lot of time. Drawing a floor plan is like 3 to 4 hours.
As much as that.
So, yes. Before you get the advertise all the files from us, it's probably 7 to 9 hours of our work for a small flat, and you have to at least double it for a big house.
I don't think a lot of people realise the work and the hours that go into it to make it what it is, the finished product.
Yes, it takes a lot of time.
Wow. Typically, what would you say is the most important shot of a house or a flat?
The most important shot of the house is the shot that is good.
Okay.
So simply saying, it's usually a reception or exterior, very generally, but some properties have amazing gardens, swimming pools, but as a photographer, I don't care too much because we put the same effort into every photograph we're taking, and we let our clients to decide which photos to use for covers of their brochures of magazines.
Some agents now offer video tours of properties. Is that something that Noga Photo Studio offer?
Not at the moment. I hire only photographers, and we probably most of us could do it and know how to record a video, but I think that there are professional video makers who could do it better.
Yeah.
And it's not so popular at the moment for me to consider employing like a full-time videographer, and to be honest, I have someone to recommend, but usually our clients are put off by the price. It's horribly expensive.
Really?
It is, and you still have to take like photos and floor plans to go along. So, you know, I would consider it for the high-end properties worth, you know, 2.5 million and over. But in most situations, like amazing quality images are more than enough. We offer time-lapse photography, which is a kind of between photography and video. We offer panoramic photographs and twilight images. So there are ways to make it looking more interesting,
yeah,
if you want. But I think with the video, it may become popular, and I'll have no choice. But but you know, I at the moment I'm doing what I do best. It's photography, it's stills.
And that you do very, very well, I can assure you. How do you find photographing a property that perhaps isn't in the best condition?
Oh, it's a very difficult question. You know, we are photographers, so we are very flexible. We are happy to do certain things. We do certain things as a standard, like making the bed look nice, straightening cushions, moving like doormats, rubbish bin. That's absolutely fine. That's our job. But you know, as you must know, as an estate agent, some properties are in such a terrible condition that we can't do too much. Then we usually call the client and discuss what to do. And very often we end up with taking like 2 pictures instead of like 10 or 15, or the good agents don't even bother to put like interior photos on their website. They just ask us to photograph the exterior and outside to not to put potential buyers.
We received a question earlier on this week, and it's something that I've experienced quite a lot in the past. The question is, I've seen a property, it's on with 3 agents, each floor plan is different in square footage. How can this be? And it's a very, I know we've spoken about this previously, it's a very popular question from a buyer.
You know, it's something completely normal up to a certain point,
yeah,
I would say. So there is nothing wrong about 3 different surveyors going to a property and arriving to slightly different figures. Honestly, if I would go to the same property for the second time, measure it, send it to my team to process, I'm pretty sure that if no one was aware that it's the same property, we would arrive with a slightly different figure.
Okay.
If it's less than 1%, there is nothing to worry about. I would worry more if all 3 estate agents would have exactly the same square footage.
Okay.
It's impossible to achieve. I'll tell you why. Because, for example, we're using the most expensive laser devices to measure the property. So they're very accurate. But if you don't hold it straight, it's like with tape measure.
Yeah.
If you move it slightly, you have a result, a measurement which is slightly off. And because you have to measure like multiple rooms, you have to add them up and calculate it, you know. That is why RICS guidelines are very important, because, you know, in very often what I've noticed, there are on the other floor plans there are in areas which are included and shouldn't be. And that is incredibly important to follow RICS guidelines, because they were created to make sure that every single company arrives to the same figure. Gross internal area is a definition. it says what must and what must not be included in square footage. And very often we see floor plans, or we ask by our clients to, for example, include like sheds, standalone garages, terraces. It's impossible. It's a definition. There are no ifs or buts.
Yeah.
Saying gross internal area including detached garage is like ordering whiskey on the rocks with no ice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just so and if the difference is too big, answering on your question, if the difference is too big, we just inspect the other floor plan. Sometimes we have to come back to the property or call the other company to find out where the problem is, but generally, like, small differences are allowable, and it's good that we have them, but if it's something bigger, it means that one supplier had to make a mistake.
So the following question almost follows on from that question. So undoubtedly you'll have estate agents say, X, Y, and Z's floor plan is higher than ours, and this other one's higher than ours. Ours is the lowest. Can you increase it? And it may well be their client's instructions saying, it needs to be increased, or it may well be their opinion saying, it needs to be on the same level as the other agents. What do you do in that situation?
I know. Very often, estate agents are forced by the vendors to make it bigger. We had situations when the vendor showed us a very inaccurate hand-drawn floor plan done 20 years ago, which was like maybe 30 square feet bigger than ours, and he asked us to match. No, there is no way we can do it. I mean, we always double check the floor plan. If we have another floor plans to compare with, we do it. If the situations goes too far, we come back to the property to remeasure it and double check it. But if the difference is higher than allowable margin of error, then the answer is no, it's just not the right practice. Properties are so expensive. When I was buying my house, the shed was included, and I just couldn't believe a wooden shed not in the best condition. So these things happen. That is why you should use people, floor planners, who are familiar with REIT guidelines, because they were created for a reason.
No, absolutely, I agree with that. How is restricted head height defined? What is restricted head height for those that don't know?
It's just the restricted height area. It's an area which is less than 1.5 meter or approximately 5 foot, and we usually mark it on our floor plans with a dotted line.
Okay.
It's obviously excluded from gross internal area.
Okay. Marcin, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope you found it very insightful. I certainly did. I'll put Marcin's details on our story later today, so he can answer any further questions you have, or if you have any further thoughts, let us know. He is a fantastic photographer. I've known him for about 10 years or so. His work is absolutely beautiful. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with him if you need him at all. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.